If you're in the market for a Ford truck, pump the brakes for a second, because Ford has quietly overhauled the EcoBoost engine for 2027, and almost nobody is talking about it. For more than a decade, EcoBoost has been the backbone of Ford's engine lineup, promising drivers a mix of power, efficiency, and turbocharged performance in a smaller package. It showed up everywhere: the F-150, the Ranger, even Ford's performance cars, and it changed what people expected from downsized engines. But as 2027 approaches, something much bigger is happening behind the scenes, and it's something Ford hasn't exactly shouted from the rooftops. This isn't a minor spec bump. It's a full rework of the EcoBoost platform aimed at fixing long-standing weak points while pushing reliability and performance further than before. Some insiders are calling it the biggest EcoBoost shakeup since the engine family was born. Why the silence? Let's dig into what Ford was actually fixing. To understand why this update matters, you have to look at what EcoBoost owners have been dealing with. The 2.7-liter and 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 variants in particular have picked up a reputation for recurring headaches. Carbon on the intake valves, timing chains stretching over time, turbochargers running hot under stress, wastegate rattle, inconsistent oil consumption, and cooling systems that struggled under sustained heavy loads. Not every engine had these problems, but enough did to shake the confidence of truck owners who expect their engines to last 150,000 to 300,000 miles without drama. That reputation hit EcoBoost hard, and Ford clearly decided it was time to respond. The 2027 EcoBoost overhaul is a ground-up redesign built around durability, thermal management, and long-term reliability. Here's what changed. First, the turbo hardware itself. The new generation turbos use electronically controlled wastegates that react faster, upgraded bearing materials that cut down on friction, and better heat shielding for high-load situations. According to industry watchers, this goes straight after the #1 complaint: turbos failing under towing or heavy-duty use. These units are engineered to run cooler, respond quicker, and simply hold up longer over time. Second, the fuel injection setup. Ford is expanding its combined port and direct injection system across more EcoBoost variants for 2027. Direct injection alone has been a major contributor to carbon buildup, so pairing it with port injection helps keep the intake valves clean while direct injection still handles the heavy lifting for power and efficiency. It's a meaningful win for long-term engine health, especially in trucks racking up high mileage. Third, the timing system. Chain stretch has been a known weak spot, so the 2027 update brings tougher timing chains, redesigned tensioners, and improved lubrication routing. These might sound like small tweaks, but failures are expensive to fix, and Ford is clearly trying to close that door for good. Fourth, the cooling architecture. Bigger intercoolers, smarter coolant routing, and updated thermal management software all work together to keep the engine stable under stress, whether that's towing, off-roading, or just running in extreme heat. That's a big deal for truck buyers in hot climates who use their trucks hard. Fifth, the software side. Modern engines run as much on code as they do on mechanics, and Ford has rewritten the boost control logic, fuel delivery timing, and knock detection systems. The payoff is smoother power delivery, better efficiency, less internal stress, and notably less turbo lag, one of the most common gripes about older EcoBoost engines. So here's the real question: why isn't anyone talking about it? Part of it comes down to inventory. Dealers are still sitting on 2025 and 2026 models, and if buyers catch wind that the 2027 versions fix reliability issues and lower long-term ownership costs, they'll simply wait. That's the last thing dealers want heading into a sales quarter. Part of it is optics. Promoting the upgrade means admitting something was wrong with the older engines in the first place, a conversation most dealerships would rather avoid. They'd rather sell on features than acknowledge past complaints, even though savvy buyers are starting to piece it together on their own. Part of it is margin. New model years usually come with smaller discounts and firmer pricing, since demand is higher and there's less room to negotiate. Dealers often find it easier to move existing inventory with incentives than to hype up a future model that's harder to bargain on. And part of it is just complexity. Most customers walking onto a lot aren't asking about timing chain metallurgy or injection strategy, and frankly, not every salesperson is prepared to explain it even if they wanted to. So the simpler path is to just not bring it up. From an engineering standpoint, though, this update matters more than it might seem on the surface. The horsepower race has largely leveled off. Nearly every modern truck already makes more power than most buyers will ever use. What people actually care about now is longevity, upkeep costs, and real-world durability, and that's exactly what this update targets. There's also the ongoing skepticism around turbocharged engines, especially from traditional buyers who still lean toward naturally aspirated V8s. This overhaul is Ford's way of pushing back on that doubt. By tackling heat, wear, and carbon buildup head-on, Ford is trying to prove turbo engines can match or beat naturally aspirated ones on durability. Fleet buyers will be watching closely, too. Commercial operators track reliability numbers religiously, and if the 2027 EcoBoost shows real gains in durability, that could mean stronger fleet adoption, better resale values, and a shift in how the market views these engines overall. That's not a small thing. So, what should truck shoppers actually take from this? If you're planning to keep a truck for the long haul, the 2027 EcoBoost is probably the smarter bet. You'll likely see less maintenance risk, a longer engine lifespan, and more consistent performance over time. If you're chasing the best deal, a 2025 or 2026 model might come with bigger discounts, rebates, and immediate availability, but that could mean trading short-term savings for long-term risk. And if you tow or haul often, the upgraded cooling and turbo durability make the 2027 models especially worth considering, since heavy-duty use is exactly where these changes will matter most. Zooming out, Ford's strategy here is pretty clear. This isn't just damage control, it's about future-proofing the EcoBoost platform as a whole. Stricter emissions rules, growing competition from hybrids and EVs, and rising customer expectations around reliability are all pushing Ford to double down on turbocharged engines rather than walk away from them. The bigger question is whether this is enough to rebuild trust. EcoBoost has always looked great on paper, but trust is something you earn slowly and can lose overnight. This update shows Ford is at least listening to complaints, reliability data, and market pressure. But the real proof will come from how these engines perform in the real world. If they can consistently deliver 200,000-plus miles with fewer problems, lower upkeep costs, and steady performance, EcoBoost has a real shot at reclaiming its reputation as one of the strongest engine platforms out there. This 2027 EcoBoost update isn't going to make headlines the way a horsepower number or a styling refresh would. But in a lot of ways, it matters more. This is Ford quietly fixing what needed fixing, without turning it into a marketing event. And that's precisely why dealers aren't talking about it. Once buyers understand what's actually changed, they're going to start asking harder questions. Why didn't this happen sooner? Is this version really more reliable? Should I just wait? For buyers who've done their homework, the answer might be yes. The 2027 EcoBoost isn't just an update. It's a correction, a refinement, and a real step toward making turbocharged trucks just as dependable as they are powerful. If Ford has actually gotten this right, it could reshape the truck market in ways most people haven't even noticed yet. A quiet revolution under the hood that could keep Ford at the front of the truck market for years to come, proving that solid engineering still beats flashy marketing.